You look up at the night sky, and it's easy to think we're the only ones out there, just us.
Right. Feels vast but empty somehow.
But what if that's not the full story? What if there have always been, well, watchers?
And that's exactly where our sources for this deep dive start, this premise of unseen observers keeping tabs on Earth.
Specifically, keeping tabs on the signals we've been blasting out into the cosmos for decades.
Which brings us right to the core topic today, this incredibly secret project, deep in the Nevada desert, codename Silent Vector.
Yeah, Silent Vector. Our sources detail its creation, its purpose, and its first test.
And it escalates fast. We go from this idea of just passive observation to, well, something much more active and potentially very dangerous being built right here.
Exactly. This wasn't about a bigger bomb. Silent Vector was designed for something else entirely.
Something more like erasure.
Precisely. Think less kaboom, more.
Yeah.
Oof, gone. So the sources paint this picture. Site Echo 9, Nevada, April 6, 2025. It's early, like 03 to 45 hours. There's this weird rust orange moon hanging over the desert.
It's very atmospheric.
Inside this place, there's a particle beam generator, 3 stories high. And its job, not to kill, but to disrupt the very fabric of an object.
The gravimetric binding of quantum coherence, is that the term they use?
That's the one. Basically, the fundamental glue holding matter together. Silent Vector was supposed to mess with that glue, just temporarily turn it off using a specific particle beam frequency.
The analogy in the sources is pretty chilling, turning alien craft into dust.
Yeah. And the initial test, according to what we've seen, it worked.
Right. They used a drone, one designed to mimic a UAP sighting from 2019 off the Virginia coast. A silent pulse of light hits it, and the drone just vanished, ceased to exist.
Wow. And the team there?
Elated. Applause, backslapping. The director apparently said something like, "We finally evened the odds."
Okay, but here's where it gets bigger, much bigger.
This is the quarantine zone part.
Exactly. Our sources introduced this idea of a galactic quarantine zone, like a cosmic hands-off policy for certain areas.
And Earth is inside one.
Apparently designated Terrarvarn 3. We jump perspective to this. Geosynchronous Watcher Platform Zeta. Think of a very high-orbiting observation post.
Always watching. And their main rule.
No direct interference. 0. So when Silent Vector successfully zapped that drone...
They didn't see it as just a tech demo.
Not at all. They saw it as aggression. A first strike was the term used.
So our defensive measure was seen as us starting something. We were the unpredictable variable they were worried about.
Precisely. And their reaction was immediate, decisive.
Let me guess. Intervention level 3 authorized.
You got it. Disable human vector. Retrieve source data. No fatalities unless forced.
Wow. Okay, so the stakes just went way, way up.
Absolutely. Now, fast forward just 2 days. April 8th, we're in Langley, Virginia, CIA headquarters.
Director Cade and Deputy Director Flint, they're looking at the data from that test in Nevada.
And it's not adding up, is it? Things are off.
Definitely cause for concern. Things like unscheduled power spikes back at the site.
Telemetry interference too, right? Messing with their data feeds.
Yeah, and the really alarming one, the beam itself, it seemed to self-realign, just slightly. 0.13 degrees, but nobody ordered it to.
Which screams external observation. Or worse, tampering.
Exactly. They suspect someone or something is not just watching, but maybe even interacting with the system.
And this leads to a pretty drastic decision.
Moving the whole project.
Yep. Relocate Silent Vector entirely. New place, underground, super secret black site up in Alaska.
But Cade insists on one last test first, a full-scale one, before the move.
Right. And that decision, looking back through the sources, that seems like the real turning point.
Trying to understand those anomalies, maybe? Or just wanting one more successful result before packing up. Either way, it sets everything else in motion.
The new site, Black Site Epsilon, Brooks Range, Alaska. I mean, they picked the most remote place imaginable.
Designed for ultimate secrecy. Hidden under a glacial valley, geothermal power to minimize any heat signature, shielded against spy satellites.
They thought they were invisible.
But they weren't. The sources say the Watchers, the aliens, they'd already tracked them.
Huh.
Cloaking tech, apparently. A prism-shaped vessel just phases into low Earth orbit, completely invisible to our detection.
And it wasn't empty.
No. It carried a retrieval team. 2 of them. And the description is, well, not little green men.
Bioluminescent entities, that's what the source said, with tendrils and these neural link matrices.
Suggests some kind of biological tech, maybe direct thought communication between them. Highly advanced.
Okay, so the aliens are in position.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back at Black Site Epsilon,
It's April 11th, 1400 hours. They start the final diagnostic checks for that last big test.
And things go wrong.
Fast.
Yeah, those same weird anomalies from Nevada. They're back, but much worse. Readings are all over the place. Electromagnetic fields are distorting.
And gravity fluctuations, actual changes in local gravity. That's what the data indicated. You can feel Cade's unease building in the reports. Something is fundamentally wrong.
Then the lights start flickering.
Uh-huh. And this deep vibration starts shaking the whole facility. Then alarms. Everywhere.
Unauthorized access alarms. Perimeter breach.
Multiple breaches. Unidentified visual anomalies on the sensors that are still working. Cameras cutting out one by one. It's bad.
It's an infiltration.
Inside the control room, the systems lock up. They can't manually shut down the beam.
And then the aliens arrive.
Yeah.
In the beam chamber itself.
These beings of light just appear, and they move fast. They disable weapons, neutralize electronics with some kind of focused energy pulse. Very efficient.
But here's the twist, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sources say one of them doesn't try to smash the generator.
No, it approaches the core, and it starts interacting with it, modifying things, realigning components, changing parameters faster than their computers can even track.
It's not destroying it.
No. And that's when Cade has this chilling realization. They aren't disabling the weapon.
They're reversing it, changing its function, turning it into something else entirely.
Which implies they understood the tech on a level the humans didn't even conceive of. They could manipulate its core properties.
And then it fires.
Yeah, the corrupted beam activates. But not outwards. It fires up, straight up, through the mountain, rock, ice, everything.
Creates this massive rift, a tear in reality.
A rift of unstable gravity, punching right through to the surface. There's this deafening roll.
And the ship in orbit reacts.
Instantly, a second alien craft arrives. And the sources describe spacetime itself folding around the rift, warping. The sky goes dark, even though it should be dawn.
Physics is breaking down.
Totally. And this is when we find out the real reason for that galactic quarantine zone.
It wasn't just about us, about stopping us from bothering others.
Apparently not. It was about containing something else, something much older, much more dangerous.
Imprisoned somehow.
Yes, imprisoned beyond the normal dimensions of space-time. And the silent vector beam, twisted by the aliens, just punched a hole into its prison. It pierced the quantum veil.
So the beam woke it up. Accidentally.
Exactly. And the aliens, they weren't just concerned anymore, they were panicking. Their attempts to disable our weapon had triggered a far greater threat.
The don't interfere rule wasn't for our safety.
It was to keep that thing locked away, for everyone's safety.
Okay, so back in the collapsing facility, Cade and Dr. Cho are trying to get out. Corridors are falling apart.
And the alien, the one that messed with the generator, it appears again. It's flickering, damaged maybe.
And it communicates. Telepathically.
Directly into their minds. A warning. We warn the others. You must shut it down.
Shut down the beam. The rift.
Yes, the breach can be sealed, but only from inside. And then the kicker.
The headline.
7 minutes. 7 minutes before your world ends.
Unbelievable pressure. Someone has to go into that gravitational nightmare.
And Cade volunteers. She decides she has to be the one.
What was it like? The sources describe her experience inside the rift.
Mind-bending doesn't cover it. Being pulled apart, reassembled across different realities instantaneously. Total sensory overload.
And she senses it. The thing they woke up.
Oh, yeah. This being of immense gravity. Ancient, powerful, dormant, but now aware of the breach in its prison.
But somehow, Cade keeps it together. Long enough.
Just barely. Her mind is unraveling, but she finds the fail-safe mechanism. It's distorted, warped by the anti-space, but she triggers it.
The shutdown sequence.
A pulse races back down the beam's path in reverse, and the rift just collapses violently, seals itself.
Averting disaster at the last possible second.
Right. So the aftermath, April 12th, 2025. What's left?
Nothing. Black Site Epsilon is gone. Just a huge crater filled with cooled, smooth glass, like obsidian.
And the official story.
Seismic event, freak earthquake, cover up.
What about Cho?
Woke up in a hospital. No memory of the final moments. The aliens vanished. The silent vector tech gone.
But the core truth remains. We're not alone.
Definitely not. And maybe some kinds of knowledge are just too dangerous to chase.
A hard lesson.
Yeah.
But the sources, they don't quite end there, do they? There's an epilogue.
Right. Cuts to way later. A deep ocean listening station. Somewhere in the Pacific Trench. Deep, dark, quiet.
And their super sensitive sonar buoys start picking something up.
A signal. Repeating. Very regular, every 33 seconds.
Not just noise, though. It's a pattern. Structured. Almost like communication.
And buried within that pattern, they isolate one specific element. A word. Or, well, a name.
Repeat.
Just repeating over and over. Cade.
Which leaves us hanging, really. What on earth does that mean?
Is it her? A distress call from wherever she ended up?
Yeah.
Across dimensions?
Or confirmation she survived? Or is it a warning, something else entirely echoing back?
Yeah. What are the implications of a message like that? Coming from, well, from potentially outside our reality.
It makes you wonder what else is out there, just beyond what we can perceive. This whole silent vector incident, it's a stark reminder, isn't it?
That curiosity can lead us down some very dark paths. And maybe sometimes the silence of space tells us more than any signal ever could.